Cycle the ones in the back to the front.
Three, that's yours.
Every time I see you do this, you've said it 100 times.
Can we have your attention
And you just deliver them?
to get us started this afternoon? I'm going to ask the esteemed president of the Empire State Development Corporation to open the proceedings.
Thank you, Secretary Perales. Welcome everyone. You know, the Strategic Implementation Assessment Team, are affectionately called the SIAT or SIAT or the SIAT has been seated now for 7 presentations. Yesterday 4, this morning 3, and Capital Region up next. The presentations have gone incredibly well. There is obviously for all of us a significant difference, and for you indeed, although you have the shortest distance to travel to get here compared to the other 9 regions, in that we're not doing the visits as we've done in the past in situ, in your regions, where we get to actually tour the businesses, the projects, and meet you all and many of your council members in your respective regions. So there's a different dynamic and a different process here, but it's I'll warn you, it's very intense and very focused because you're all here. Unfortunately, you know, we have limited time. The panel has some new and very special guests that the Secretary will introduce to you in due course. But this is working really well. And again, to you all, it might not make the same difference because it's easy to get here, which explains why there is such a deep bench of 2 rows of enthusiastic supporters of the Capital Region's work. I don't see Philip Morris from Proctor's, which is the only gap in your presentation so far. Because, of course, well, please express to Philip our thanks for hosting us last year. In any event, and to get started, please accept my message on behalf of Governor Andrew Cuomo of thanks. Of thanks to you, to obviously the co-chairs, but all the members of the leadership and all the members indeed of the council, and please extend beyond yourselves our thanks to the many members of your different committees and work groups in your key areas. As we say, and we've been saying throughout this review process, it really is extraordinary to think of the power of all of the volunteers that make the regional council system across the state work. It really is thousands of people. If you had 300 or 400 or 500 people per council, and everyone does, times 10, do the math with me, and you get a sense of what I mean. And to all of them, and to all the local elected officials and members of the State Assembly, and others who are here and who support this process back in the counties, back in the communities, towns, villages, and cities, again, our thanks for this extraordinary effort in directing scarce, precious taxpayer dollars to critical economic development projects in your region and beyond. So again, our thanks, congratulations, and good luck with your presentation.
Ken, thank you very much. We will begin immedately, but I did want to recognize 2 members of the legislature that are with us. Assemblywoman Fahey, if she can just stand up for a minute. And Assemblyman John McDonald. He was here a moment ago. There's, of course, a mayor with us, but she's part of the panel, so that I will allow the co-chairs to do the introductions of the panel, and then you can move right into your presentation.
Thank you, Secretary. Secretary, Commissioners, members of the Governor's Cabinet, ladies and gentlemen. We are the Capital Region Economic Development Council, a little bit louder, and I'm happy to introduce my co-chair, Dr. Robert Jones, to my left, Todd Erling, who has chaired our Agribusiness work group, the Honorable Kathy Sheehan, Mayor of the City of Albany, to my far right, Omar Usmani, who has chaired our Infrastructure Opportunity Agenda, Veterans, and Global New York's work groups. We've been very busy. And then to my immediate right, Arnie Will, who is the acting regional director of the Empire State Development Corporation.
Excuse me, Jim, if you bring that closer, it'll be
Just a little bit
louder.
closer?
Yeah,
How's that?
that's great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. My name is Jim Barba. I'm the president and CEO of Albany Medical Center, and I am proud and privileged to be the co-chair of the Capital Region Economic Development Council, working alongside my good friend and my partner and co-chair, Dr. Robert Jones, who's the president of the University of Albany. Last year, we were named a top performer. I believe that we achieved that recognition through significant public engagement, tremendous outreach to the people of our 8 counties in our region. We harnessed or attempted to harness the collective power and expertise of over 1,000 people in our region. What you'll see in our progress report in today's presentation is the result of a completely similar cooperative effort to reach out, touch those people once again, add to them, and to strengthen our economy and our communities. Dr. Jones?
Thank you, Jim, and good afternoon. I'd like to extend thanks to everyone here today for the opportunity to be with you and to share our council's progress report and future plans. In 2014, our council built upon the accomplishments from a year ago, holding scores of public meetings to seek input, suggestions, and insight. We met with or otherwise involved thousands of people from across our 8 counties. We specifically focused our 2014 strategy on leveraging the state's new signature programs, including Startup New York, Global New York, and the Veterans Initiative. We once again paid very close attention to leveraging our educational and technological platforms, promoting our arts, culture, and tourism assets, exploiting our unique agribusiness strengths, and capitalizing on riverfront and community redevelopment projects, particularly those in underserved and economically distressed areas. Over the next half hour, we will tell you what we've done, what we've accomplished, and where we are headed. We hope you also will hear that we paid close attention to the guidance provided by the review panel last year to further improve the quality of our priority projects and to improve the impact that it will have in the capital region.
Our next few slides are intended to show you what we've been about in the first 3 cycles. First of all, certainly jobs. This slide tells the story. More than 20,400 jobs have been impacted with CFA investments that have leveraged nearly 6 times the funding awarded. I believe we're doing precisely what Governor Cuomo has charged us to do. For us, it has been about jobs, jobs, jobs. Importantly, as you can see from this slide, and I think this is critically important, quite frankly, the vast majority of our CFA-funded projects are proceeding on schedule, including, incredibly from my point of view, more than 90% of those funded in last year's round 3. Over the past 3 years, Empire State Development and Consolidated Funding Awards have totaled $200 million to our region for over 307 projects. This investment has attracted more than $1.16 billion in institutional investments. In other words, a 5.8 to 1 leverage ratio, resulting in over $1.36 billion in total project costs.
With this record, our main goal this year was to reinforce the progress that was made in earlier rounds and to advance strategies and priority projects that would build upon the momentum we've achieved. In 2013, the Council took a number of actions designed to better engage Council members, to better coordinate with our partners in government, and to better capitalize on the expertise of those within our region. We expanded our governance structure by adding new working groups to focus on the key priority initiatives of the governor, such as Global New York and the Veterans Initiatives. These work groups held focused public information sessions to align the Council's effort on achieving measurable results based on strategic plan and our regional priorities. From our first day as co-chairs and again in 2014, Jim and I brought a deep commitment to transparency, openness, and public engagement to further advance Tech Valley. This slide shows just a few of the actions we took this past year. Notably, we increased the circulation of our monthly newsletter by more than 6.6%, realizing more than 168,000 email touches to both residents and businesses. We expanded our outreach through the pipeline to project work group, and we continue to leverage the state agency resource team.
Here are some of the ways that we measure our success. One of our primary goals has been to foster collaborative efforts, as I've indicated, particularly cross-regional collaboration. You can see the number of collaborative priority project CFA awards, proposals involving partnership among multiple institutions, is steadily on the rise now. The Capital Region's unemployment rate happily continues to be lower than the statewide average. It has declined faster than the statewide rate, and it stands at its lowest rate in 6 years. We believe the more than 20,000 jobs that have been impacted by the work of this council are making a positive contribution to this measure of opportunity. I expect it is no surprise to anyone in this room that a great deal of growth has occurred in the technology sector in this region. Computer and electronic product jobs and wages are up nearly 80% since 2011. This is a real indication that Tech Valley is indeed advancing.
With the type of growth in technology that Jim has just highlighted, our region clearly needs to ensure that a highly skilled and properly trained workforce is available to meet the growing needs of industry. This slide demonstrates that the Capital Region's institution of higher education are rising to meet this challenge. The number of STEM degrees and certificates increased more than 11% since 2011. An equally important metric is how well the Capital Region is interconnected by broadband access. 95% of the Capital Region households have access to wireless broadband, and a focus area for the council going forward is to improve access to fiber optic broadband. The Greater Capital Region is a treasure trove of rich and diverse recreation and historic assets, such as SPAC, the Palace Theater, Proctor's, and the Hyde Collection. These destinations alone were responsible for nearly 1.3 million visitors last year, up some 32% since 2011. The work of our Arts, Cultural, and Tourism Working Group is paying off, and we're particularly proud of the more than $25 million in CFA funding that has been dedicated to enhancing our region's beauty and cultural attractions. Jim?
The challenge of global New York was a new one presented to us by the governor this year. Our council invested a great deal of time in developing strategies to advance our top priorities. First, I'd like to tell you about Global New York and our council. We created a dedicated working group to give this regional priority proper attention, and charged it with building our region's strength and reputation as a destination of choice for foreign direct investments. Our Global New York strategies include, among many, capitalizing on New York's status as the world's leader in nanotechnology, and frankly, I think much of the locus for that is right here in our region. Leveraging Startup New York and the new EB5 Regional Center, and easing the pathway for inbound foreign investors. We also developed a series of strategies to increase exports to international markets. We published a white paper describing our Global New York plan that was formally adopted by the council only last week. We were working on it right up until the last minute. And I know the fact that we published it last week prohibits us from officially annexing it to our plan to you as an appendix. Nevertheless, it is a plan and a very, very good work plan that will guide the actions of this council well into the future. While some areas of focus were welcomed, others were forced upon us. Over the past 3 years, all 8 of our counties declared a state of emergency due to an extreme weather event. Governor Cuomo's response in the form of New York Rising has been essential in helping our people and our economy to recover. The Council explored priority projects that would protect the life and property of individuals and businesses across the capital region, as well as across the entire state of New York. New York Quality for Weather Detection, also known as Weather Lab, is a particularly important project for us. Providing advanced testing and calibration facilities, it will support New York's Mesonet, a 125-station weather observation network announced by Governor Cuomo and Vice President Biden in January of this year. The effort is led by the University at Albany. It, and others like it, will provide New York with better and more reliable weather forecasts, allowing us to strengthen the resiliency and preparedness of the private and public sectors during extreme weather events. Our council fully realizes that the capital region's economy is only as good as its talent. The council has made concerted efforts to work collaboratively with regional stakeholders to do a number of things. Among them, to create career pathways for high school and college students, to align curricula with emerging employment opportunities, and to provide unemployed and underemployed adults with opportunities in our growing industries. Leveraging our educational assets to workforce development is both a regional strength and an important strategy for this council. To continue to foster a culture of innovation that will attract and retain highly qualified workers, the council is advancing 2 innovation hotspot initiatives. The first is Innovate 518, led by the University at Albany, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, and the CEG, the Center for Economic Growth, to make the best use of our existing business incubator infrastructure, which is fairly significant. Secondly, Albany Law School is partnering with the College of Nanoscale Science and Engineering to advance Next Tech to provide education and training to entrepreneurs, as well as a testing environment for innovation technologies. Governor Cuomo's landmark higher education and economic development program, SUNY 2020, is helping the University at Albany achieve perhaps its largest academic expansion in decades. As a result, this flagship institution is hiring new faculty, researchers, and staff and constructing a high-tech R&D facility. Robert?
The council is pleased to report that Startup New York program is already having a significant impact in the capital region as colleges and universities have moved very quickly to capitalize on this pioneering economic development initiative. In 2014, 5 capital region universities and colleges are implementing approved Startup New York plans, with surely others will be following. Each plan will leverage the program's tax-free incentives to create new jobs and attract new businesses and industry while advancing the mission of each academic institution. With more than 100,000 veterans in our region, the council took a number of steps to support our servicemen and our servicewomen. The council formed a dedicated working group with the goal of creating new pathways to link our veterans' military training with the workforce and business opportunities that are available. Our council is working with a number of key stakeholders to ensure the availability of training, education, and job matching with New York State employers. We clearly owe this type of support to all of our veterans for the sacrifice that they've made, and we thank the governor for making this a statewide priority. In all of the council's work, we are mindful of advancing the goals set forth in our 2012 Cleaner, Greener Communication Plan. Our infrastructure, innovation, and technology working groups are coordinating with the New York Works Task Force to advance projects that reduce greenhouse gases, improve the energy supply, invest in existing infrastructure resources such as water and transportation. As a result, our council has supported a number of projects that promote cleaner, greener communities plans, including previously awarded CFAs like CNSE's Zero Energy Building, the Community Garden Initiative in Rensselaer County, and the Casella Organic Animal Bedding Initiative in Columbia County. And in 2014, our outreach to stakeholders to develop priority projects focused on sustaining infrastructure and smart growth continues once again. It is now my pleasure to present to you Albany's Mayor, Kathy Sheehan, a great partner, friend, and an ex officio member of the Capital Region Economic Development Council. Mayor?
Thank you, Robert. And to you as well, Jim. Thank you for inviting me to join you to discuss the exciting work happening in the Capital Region. And if the evaluation team would indulge me, I'm going to start with a personal story. In 1987, I left Ohio with all of my worldly possessions packed into my Dodge Shadow and headed east for a job producing a television real estate show featuring homes for sale in an area that roughly encompasses our current REDC. Each week, we highlighted a different cultural institution, a park, historic site, or other area of interest. So my job quite literally depended on my ability to be an ambassador for every community in the region. Unburdened by preconceived biases and parochial prejudices, I fell in love with this region, with its natural beauty, its historic and unique cities, and its unparalleled cultural institutions. As our state's capital, Albany is the most recognizable face of our region and an important economic driver. But for us to truly succeed in the 21st century, our entire region must be strong. Governor Cuomo clearly understood this when he created the Regional Economic Development Councils and charged them with becoming the economic planners for the state. As a result, the Capital Region has broken through decades, maybe centuries, of entrenched parochialism. Our arts and cultural institutions are working and collaborating together as never before. As part of our regional approach, CEG convenes all of the economic developers in our region to discuss projects, to identify opportunities to collaborate on applications, and to share ideas on how to strengthen transformative projects for the region. This would have been unthinkable 4 years ago. And municipal leaders have joined forces on REDC projects and beyond. The Council's work is helping local government officials like me work with our counterparts throughout the 8 counties and with the private sector to address issues that impact economic growth, including transportation, infrastructure development, land use planning, affordable housing, data sharing, and consolidation opportunities. By thinking about how economic development works on a wider scale, the Council has made a concerted effort to increase interregional collaboration that will benefit a much larger area. Council members have researched and sought out opportunities beyond our region, including the North Country, the Mohawk region, the Finger Lakes, and more. Because of their research and creativity, you will see projects related to food manufacturing, agribusiness, organic waste processing, and tourism, among others, which have been identified as strong candidates for funding and job creation. The proposal before you today represents a transformation of the Capital Region. Yes, I am the mayor of Albany and a tireless advocate for economic investment in our great capital city. But I am also part of the most dynamic, energetic region in the state, a region that can and will provide New York with the best return on its economic development investment, bar none, because our leaders have come together, our communities are working together, and we are committed to moving forward together as a region. Thank you.
Mayor, thank you for that presentation, and thank you, quite frankly and personally, for being such a valuable member of our Economic Development Council. I'm now pleased to introduce another member of our council whose work has also been invaluable. Todd Erling, the Executive Director of Hudson Valley Agribusiness Development Corporation, who leads our agribusiness work group. Todd.
Thank you, Jim. And thank you all for taking the time to interact with us and evaluate our performance. It's great to see some familiar faces in round 4. It's also good to see some new faces and introduce some of the energy that the mayor just expressed about our region. As Jim mentioned, I am the executive director of Hudson Valley Agribusiness. We're a regional economic development office. And I wanted to illustrate to you very quickly 2 metrics that came out of the Ag Census, and you can see that in the slide. Now, some of this was captured pre-Economic Development Council efforts, but a significant portion of it was occurring during our efforts. And I want to illustrate market value increase and product value increase as 2 metrics and give you some examples of what we do on the ground in the region that accounts for this. First, with the governor's assistance and Empire State Development and the various agencies, the farm cider law was brought in, and our first cidery licensed in New York State was here in Albany using Columbia County apples. We also had the first ag distillery sited here in the capital region. Both of those are examples of taking product, cider for an example, at $2 to $5 a gallon, giving our farmer the opportunity to put value add in it, and increasing that in a hard cider case to somewhere around $14 to $15 a gallon, and in a vodka case up to $39.95-ish. Now, what we want to illustrate is that those are things that happen outside of the regional council, but we are embracing agriculture as a component, and I'm a co-chair on the Project to Pipeline Committee. So some examples of priorities: we helped a veteran farmer become certified so that his CFA would also get rolled into our veterans' priorities. We have shown how one of the largest exporters of apples are headquartered right here in the Capital District, Global New York. And we've also shown in the opportunity agenda how the Capital District Community Gardens increased by 12.5% New York State product going into our opportunity agenda neighborhoods and other areas of targeted population within the capital region. So for us, agriculture occurs inside our cities and around our cities, but agriculture has been brought into the fold in every one of our priorities, from cleaner, greener, on through to targeted agricultural sustaining our surroundings priorities. And that's how we've really embraced and evolved into bringing agriculture to the table.
Thank you, Todd. I am now pleased to introduce another member of the Regional Council, Omar Usmani, who's the executive partner at Aon Nexus Corporation and who leads our Pipeline to Project and the Opportunity Agenda Work Group.
Thank you, Robert. I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize 3 of my co-chairs that actually helped throughout all the process: Andrew Meter, Mike Tucker, and Bill Hart. Without their help, we couldn't get half of what you see done in our council process. Starting off with the Opportunity Agenda, in 2014, the council expanded its Opportunity Agenda, which concentrated on 3 inner-city census tracts last year to include distressed neighborhoods and low-income families in rural and urban areas throughout the region, while supporting minority and women-owned businesses. We really focused on multiple initiatives carrying on the Opportunity Agenda into MWBE businesses, and also now the veteran-owned businesses that we're counting on as part of our veterans group as well. The council recognizes that it must promote economic opportunity and high quality of life for people of all backgrounds and skill levels, transcending municipal and geographic boundaries, while meeting and exceeding the mission of our Opportunity Agenda. I'm sure you're going to have questions about how Trinity Alliance is excelling with our Opportunity Agenda from last year, and we're going to talk about that hopefully in the Q&A process. But not to take up any more time, I'm going to move on. Through the information sessions and one-on-one meetings, the council also requested that all CFA applicants, regardless of funding stream, consider how their projects might be aligned with our Opportunity Agenda from last year and how potential barriers might be addressed in a CFA proposal. Again, using the Opportunity Agenda from last year to actually go forward and actually develop projects going forward. A robust pipeline of priority projects. Discussions about the implications for the Opportunity Agenda were part of a broader outreach effort that produced successful pipeline of priority projects and CFAs, particularly in 2013 and 2014. Last year, the council created a new forum for dialogue on potential CFAs, which continued in 2014. Following each full council meeting, our pipeline to project work group convenes stakeholders to generate ideas for priority projects, foster real-time feedback, and share an understanding of the process and upcoming funding rounds. We already have projects spanning into 2015 and 2016, providing there's a round 5 and round 6. So we're continually working on future projects as well. This has enabled our council to support the development and advancement of the most competitive CFAs that better align and integrate with the council's strategies and vision for the region. Through this critical work, the council was pleased to identify 65 priority projects out of the 211 CFAs in round 4 that align with our strategic plan. Projects that promise to further propel our capital region economy. We've been working on putting together the best projects possible from our entire region. You'll see that we've continually brought a lot of priorities to the table. And the reason behind that is because we've got a fantastic community of support behind actually developing a pipeline as well. It's been a great opportunity for us. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Omar. Robert and I are now pleased to feature just a couple of our priority projects for this year and explain how those projects advance the goals of our strategic plan as well as to create new employment opportunities in our region. Goal 1 of our plan is to leverage and collaborate. Microorganic Technologies is advancing a priority project that truly embodies the first goal of the Council's strategic plan. The Microorganic Technologies Initiative calls for the commercialization of bioelectrochemical technology that has the capability to process organic waste while reducing operating costs for food manufacturers. Based in Rensselaer County, Microorganic Technologies will capitalize on the expertise found in the Eastman Kodak Park in the Finger Lakes to meet specific needs of New York State's food processing industry. Goal 2, open new doors. The SUNY College of Nanoscale Science and Engineering and the Fuller Road Management Corporation have had a profound and historic impact on the capital region. CNSC seeks funding for yet another transformational project, the construction of a sensitive, compartmented information facility known as a SCIF at CNSC's Albany Nanotech Complex. We expect that a SCIF will allow billions of dollars of government agency and defense contracts to be executed at CNSC, opening new doors for this sector to this region, including the development of classified technologies deemed highly sensitive to national security and competitiveness, something that does not exist here in our region currently. Goal 3, prepare for tomorrow. The Capital Region Educational Learning Object Repository and Distribution Center will link early college high schools through a digital network connecting classrooms, students, and teachers across the entire region. Led by the Ballston Spa Central School District in Saratoga County, this priority project will provide a digital management system that supports collaborative learning formats and on-demand access to educational programs across the region. Goal 4, to build a superhighway. Building a superhighway to carry Tech Valley forward as a leader in technology and innovation is an important strategic goal of this council. One example is the inland deep water port of Queman's expansion. This priority project involves extension and upgrade of water infrastructure in ways that will leverage prior and ongoing private investment and accelerate opportunities for job creation.
The Goal 5, Bringing Cities to Life, the Schenectady Community Development Infusion Initiative advanced by the Community Loan Fund, is the poster child for bringing our cities to life. Loans of $1.9 million over the next 3 years by the Community Loan Fund will support small business development, including women and minority-owned business development for startup companies and business expansion. The program will also provide financing to nonprofits for affordable housing and essential community services, as well as to low-income buyers for the purchase or repair of a home. Goal 6, sustain, optimize our surroundings. Located in Greene County, the Field Goods delivers fresh food from over 60 local farms and food producers to its subscriber network. Field Goods is seeking to construct a 50,000 square foot building adjacent to its current facility to support the expansion of its distribution operation. Clearly, The Field Goods Initiative will go far to sustain and optimize our surroundings by supporting our local agribusinesses sectors, as well as by generating income for local farmers and producers.
Forgive me, I may be rude, but you've got a number of slides still to go through, and we are running over.
Okay.
Could we sort of do it a little, accelerate the presentation?
Pick up the pace. Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe what we should do is show the video and be done with it.
Okay. Why don't you do that?
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. What we'd like to do is show you a very brief concluding video and end the presentation right there.
Perfect. Perfect.
Building on last year's momentum, 2014 marked another successful year for the Capital Region Economic Development Council, reaffirming that Tech Valley is advancing. With nearly $1.4 billion of investment, more than 20,000 jobs have been created and retained in the Capital Region over the past 3 years. And unemployment is at its lowest levels since 2008. Enhanced regional strategies and new priority projects have the Capital Region positioned once again for even greater success in the years ahead. With new investments aligned with our strategic goals, Tech Valley will be advancing beyond the present by bolstering our regional and statewide economy, protecting life and property of both individuals and businesses, and building a 21st century infrastructure for defense, paper, and emerging high-tech industries. With increased market share, expanded international trade, and the development of new and innovative technologies, Tech Valley will be advancing beyond our boundaries. Through Startup New York-sponsored new businesses and jobs, innovation hotspot entrepreneurs and startup companies, and Global New York-generated foreign investment and export. With a focus on preparing for tomorrow, spotlighting our strengths, and bringing our cities to life, Tech Valley will be taking us beyond our imagination by providing our veterans with new job and business pathways, expanding the opportunity agenda to include both urban and rural areas, strengthening our region's arts, cultural, and tourism destinations, revitalizing our cities with riverfront and downtown redevelopment, and building sustainable communities that empower smart growth. 2014 was a remarkable year for the Capital Region Economic Development Council, but none of this would have been possible without our greatest asset, the people who live and work in Tech Valley. This past year's unprecedented public involvement and participation in the Council's work only reinforces what co-chairs Jim Barba and Robert Jones have long said. There is no substitute for the collective power of experience, knowledge, and the desire to secure the future of our region. Through locally driven, community-based economic development strategies, Tech Valley is advancing beyond the present, beyond our boundaries, beyond our imagination.
Thank you very much.
Let me quickly introduce the members of our SEAT team. Where are they? Well, to my immediate right, Jerry Boone, but let me see if I can get the entire list. Jerry Boone is the head of the Civil Service Commission. Roanne DeStito is our Commissioner of General Services. Matt Driscoll is the President and CEO of the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation. We've also got with us Colonel Eric Hesse, who is the Director of our Division of Veterans Affairs. We've got a guest member of our SEAT team from the federal government. His name is Patrick Kerwin, and he directs the Trade Promotion Coordinating Committee of the federal government. And he's here to, particularly interested in global New York. And we've got on the end, Tom Maddox, who is the Commissioner of Taxation and Finance. That is our team. And let me begin the questioning, and very directly, because Omar sort of invited this
Yes.
this question. For the audience to understand, the opportunity agenda was something that the governor made part of this process because he wanted to ensure that as we developed economically, as we created jobs, that no one would be left behind, and that people who have traditionally met with obstacles to getting jobs would profit from the good work, the effective work of these regional economic development councils. So, Omar, I'm very interested in learning what has happened as a result of your prior efforts at creating these opportunities, particularly last year.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. First and foremost, we've got Harris Oberlander in the crowd that actually runs the Trinity Alliance for our big opportunity agenda project from last round, which provides opportunities in education in a culinary kitchen down in South Albany. It's a fantastic project that we focused on last round because it was in a census tract that we identified as part of 3 census tracts in downtown Albany, downtown Troy, and downtown Schenectady that had underprivileged and underutilized urban core residents. Frankly, the opportunities that were created for minority and women-owned businesses and minorities in our community right there with the campus itself has been fantastic. We've taken the ideas from that round, which we were awarded $100,000 as part of last year's funding, and carried it on to our 8 goals and strategies for this round. We've expanded.
But how are we doing with the Culinary Institute, the operation itself? Where is that?
Sir, furniture, I just heard, is being delivered this week.
The ribbon cutting is is October the 6th. I think that's the first Monday in October.
And you'll have how many people participating in taking classes on cooking and serving?
If I may, Harris Oberlander, the executive director, is here.
Wonderful.
Harris, would you stand up, please? And you brought a student with you, I understand.
All right, well, thank you very much.
I think importantly, Mr. Secretary, what we did this year in 2014 is we took the lessons that we felt we learned in 2013 with the Opportunity Agenda, and we instructed anyone who wanted to apply for a CFA to tell the Council how exactly the Opportunity Agenda themes were going to tie into the application for whatever program that was. And in doing the scoring of our projects, particularly the priority projects, those applications with the correct themes for the Opportunity Agenda were very important to us.
Great. Very good. Commissioner Boone.
Thank you, and I want to thank the dedicated work of the panel. I'm a resident of the Capital Region, so I have a heightened appreciation for the momentum that's occurring, and I'm seeing it and I'm feeling it. So I want to thank you as a local citizen of the area as well as New York State for your hard work. You're making progress. I'm curious to know, you talked about, touched on all of your areas, and it seems that you do have a very robust public engagement effort, outreach, focus on regional collaboration, certainly technology, all over that, and education, tourism is up, global New York focus. So of all these initiatives, which one, upon reflection, and I know you haven't had much opportunity for reflection, would you give more impetus to or have the greatest concern about?
Well, I'll make a lot of enemies by answering this question, as I suspect any one of us would. But probably each of the panel members and each of the council members would answer this question differently. It's a matter of, I guess, personal bias as someone who is also a resident of this region. To me, to have watched the initial investment that Governor Mario Cuomo made in nanotechnology and what became the College for Nanoscale Science and Engineering, it now has a new name, as you know, and then to watch the investment that the current governor, Andrew Cuomo, has made in the same initiatives has been extraordinarily rewarding. I mean, if ever one wanted to see good money chasing after good money, good investments after good investments, doubling down on what turned out to be a brilliant initiative, to me, it's nanotechnology. It leads all of the technologies, and as you say, Commissioner, we're a high-tech, I think, region. And among the things of which I'm most proud, I'm proud of the fact that I think we are the world center for nanotechnology. I'm particularly proud of the fact that what has been learned in Albany and worked on in Albany and invested in Albany is now being exported to much of the rest of New York State, certainly to all of upstate New York. But that's just my opinion. Maybe, I'm sure someone, agribusiness, the arts, culture and tourism, we could go on.
I appreciate the opportunity to make a comment. I think we've learned through the process to connect with our rural surroundings, and we've seen an increase in the number of CFAs coming in from the more rural counties around the urban center. And we have some great representation sitting here today. Individual who has a Food Network program, Nancy Fuller, Ecovative, where we've shown these direct connections of our talent and our product within the rural-urban relationship. But I always look to increase and improve that relationship so that all 8 counties feel part of one cohesive region.
Commissioner DeStito.
Thank you. So I'm going to follow through on that because you are doing such a great job, and I want to really commend you for your presentation. And I live here during the week, and I can see what's going on. And thank you for using our beautiful fireworks over the Capitol in your presentation. OGS thanks you for doing so.
Thank you for presenting them.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank Governor Cuomo. But I want to ask a question that we ask a lot of the regions, and that is the unskilled workforce. Do you think about the jobs for the unskilled workforce, the workforce that isn't going to get a STEM graduation or diploma, certificate, but needs to be part of, and that's probably part of the opportunity agenda. I know you've talked about the Trinity, but do you think even deeper into the rest of the region for that purpose?
Last year, as Robert and I became co-chairs virtually simultaneously, we created the work groups. And the one I think that was closest to both of our hearts was that on the workforce and education. So, Commissioner, I'm very proud of the fact that Drew Matnack, who is the president of Hudson Valley Community College, is here. He chaired that as a volunteer last year. He's now a council member by gubernatorial appointment this year. As a volunteer last year, he co-chaired that council. And Drew, if you could just stand up and tell us the significant progress we're making in dealing with the population that you're identifying.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the opportunity of working with the council. I think that, as Jim had indicated earlier in the presentation, this has been an evolution for us as a council. We built on each year as we progress. And the one thing that I can tell you that I'm so proud of is the amount of collaboration. And I know that that was the emphasis of the governor. A collaboration across sectors and a collaboration with higher ed, K-12, business and industry. And so we're doing more and more with regard to that. I do have to point to Trinity Alliance and the Capital South Project because we have so many partners that are working with us in that area. And Harris and I were just speaking yesterday about the fact that we have more of the students that you're talking about, the unskilled, the students that need to be able to build their skills to be able to provide a future for them. And Harris is doing a great job. Those individuals are going to get their basic skills, they're going to get their English as a second language, they're going to be able to see a pathway to their future. That's just one example, and I can point to a number, but what they're doing at Capital South Project is exactly what we need to be doing in the region.
Thank you.
The mayor wanted to comment also, if she may.
Could I also just add as to how it expands beyond the region, because what is happening in the South End is important because it's providing access to an underserved community, but it is open and available to anyone who fits the profile. So you don't have to live in the South End in order to take advantage of it. UAlbany has been a leader in recognizing the importance of ensuring that particularly students who have not been successful in graduating from high school, that we are focused on the entire continuum, cradle to career, and they've been partners in the region, and that partnership expands beyond just Albany. And we recognize that in Schenectady and Troy and a number of our underserved communities that we have to connect those residents to jobs. And we have seen the really evaporation of the municipal lines as we think and talk about it as mayors and as municipal leaders, grabbing and reaching out to the resources that are available to us. And it is really incredible to see everyone working together, CDTA, recognizing that transportation is a key component that is a barrier between seeking that education at HVCC or SCCC, and that is happening here because of the council.
And I asked this question because I am a big employer at OGS of a lot of the workers in the Capital District, and we do have a difficulty filling some utility workers and some of the jobs that are not, they're not graduating from CNSC, but we need them. They're good paying jobs, and I think that you know, we need to work together. Thank you.
Well,
Yes, Commissioner, if I may, I'd just like to add that one of the things that UAlbany is focusing on as a part of his Startup New York campaign is to not only try to locate businesses, high-tech businesses and other kinds of businesses that will be located in proximity to the university. We're also very much interested in locating businesses in underserved communities that will directly employ the people that you're talking about, because transportation becomes a big issue. And we've made it a point to make that a focus of our Startup New York work.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
let's turn to our mayor, Mayor Driscoll.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks, and great presentation, everybody. Good afternoon. I have a question simply in terms of the Global New York Initiative and marketing. Are you targeting specifically industries for that effort, and can you describe to us what those may be and how you are doing that? And then frankly, connecting back to some of the items that we just discussed in terms of vocational opportunities.
The gentleman who's a member of our council who did just yeoman's work on the Global New York paper that, as I said, we just passed last week is Mike Tucker from the Council for Economic Growth. Michael?
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Our region has a long history of opportunity in the global marketing initiative in terms of not only attracting new business and investment, but also attracting foreign investment. We have over 30 years of the Global Business Network, which is an organization of service providers and other interested organizations and individuals who work in this arena. For over 15 years, the region has marketed strengths in the areas that we have advanced manufacturing and technology-driven innovation and research. We also, with respect to the question that was asked by Commissioner Castillo, we had done a study several years ago that demonstrated that for every technology job at a foundry, there was 5 service sector jobs. And we think that multiple effect we're starting to see. And if there's an opportunity for someone who has been working as a underemployed person at a convenience store is now hired at foundry, the assistant manager becomes the manager, the desk clerk becomes the assistant manager, someone with no experience gets to be the convenience store clerk. And it's something that we're very, very focused on.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Mike, do you have a database that tracks, kind of that information over a period of time? Which, if you've been doing this for 15 years and now with this process that's in its 4th year, it sounds like there may be good information to be had, going forward.
Yes, we have not only a database of the individuals and companies that we've identified over the years at trade shows that we continue to market and to continue to keep them updated on what great activities that are going on here. But we also work very closely with our colleges and universities. We have the opportunity with 23 colleges and universities and professional schools to look at the international and global components of marketing in that arena. And we think there's a tremendous future opportunity to move into supply chain initiatives. And working with the GEs and the global foundries and the Regenerons and companies across those industry clusters that we've identified, to work with the companies that they are supplying them. So that if there's an increased demand, for example, of the raw chip that a global foundries uses for their facility, such that there's an increase in demand that the company that manufactures that has to put a 60,000 square foot addition on that facility, how do we get that here as opposed to having that addition built there?
Thanks.
Colonel Hesse, please.
Thank you for your presentation and your inclusion of the veterans initiatives. I know you've developed your veterans working group. I'm just curious what you see as the priorities for veterans in the capital region for opportunity.
Thank you, Colonel. Our council's taken an inventory of the resources available to veterans in the capital region, and we've got great help from Department of Labor, the Association of the United States Army, and employer support for the Guard Reserve. We've already met with all 3 organizations and started to actually combine resources that we can have. What we found in our region, however, and I'm from Washington, D.C., so this is not a problem that we have in Washington, D.C., but a problem that we found here is that our skilled veterans coming home to the capital region are not being utilized for the skills the taxpayers train them with, right? Our skilled veterans are coming home to the capital region without the opportunities to actually use the skills they actually have. Can you imagine a veteran coming home after being responsible for $40 million of inventory or supplier logistics or materials, and they're coming home and being given a stock boy job in the back of a warehouse? So we found that we need to create new industries that focus on defense, security, and resilient sectors. To that point, you'll see that the Secured Compartmentalized Information Facility that we've actually proposed for SUNY CNSC is a program that will actually develop jobs in a defense sector, an industry for the capital region that we're sorely missing right now. So that vets come home, they have secured clearances, they have the ability to actually create new companies now that we have an SDVOB program through OGS, and actually capitalize on all that with a SCIF right here in Albany, to take information from Washington, D.C. and information from our defense partners globally and actually create opportunities here for our veterans, not just creating jobs, but creating the right jobs that utilize their skills, clearances, and education. Those are the major components that we've found, and we're actually acting upon those right now. So in our proposed projects, the priority projects we have, you'll see that we have 3 or 4 major projects that are highlighting not just helping our vets get jobs or create opportunities for veteran-owned businesses, but creating an entire industry focus that will help to create jobs in the capital region, hopefully for all of New York State.
Mr. Kerwin.
Yes, I thank you very much for your presentation. I like the way you tied in the transportation aspect into everything that you're doing there, and a big focus on the nanotechnology and Startup New York. One of the things on the international, I want to follow a little bit on Matt's question. a lot of the focus on the branding side seems to be more about FDI attraction, and I'm curious about on the exporting side, and that's another, it seems like that's a new piece that you just put out last week. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about how you plan on utilizing the exporting side of the international equation.
What we've looked at in terms of the export side of the Global New York Initiative that the governor is promoting is that we're looking at where Global New York intersects with our 8 goals and objectives of our strategic plan. What best practices, we started to look at best practices in other regions, including the work that Brookings has done and the work that's been done in Central New York. And we then have begun a process of looking at what the gaps are. We think it's very important to promote and encourage the companies that are already exporting to help them expand and grow. It's a very complicated and challenging process. We also want to build the resource team and the network of opportunity for companies who have never thought until they heard about Global New York that they too may be able to take products and services into this arena. One of the most interesting statistics for our region is 45% of our export is service-oriented. We haven't touched yet on the tourism and cultural and educational components of exporting, but we think that's an important area. We attended the program that was sponsored by Empire State Development for Taste New York and the export opportunities in the agribusiness area. And again, we think that there's a tremendous opportunity using the partnerships in place, the resources of Empire State Development and the U.S. Department of Commerce and their regional representatives, Westchester, to put that plan together and really begin to bring that to a point where people are aware of how they can export and how they can be successful.
I think the intersection of global New York and startup New York is really something that is fascinating. And it certainly is going to be the work of this council, at least in the coming year, to take a look specifically at that. Already in just our 8 counties, we've had half a dozen colleges, universities, and I'm proud to say 1 medical college qualify under the Startup New York program. Speaking of only the program that I know so intimately, because this is all so new, the medical college, we are already looking at, we have a building prepared on our campus for new companies, for startups, for entrepreneurs who are interested in doing the kinds of research that will create new biotech products, initiatives, some of which will be exported. So there is a whole new opportunity when you cross those 2 initiatives of the governor. And I think it ought not be lost on any of us.
Thank you. Commissioner Maddox.
Good afternoon. A brief comment and a question. Given the interest of the committee and the opportunity agenda, one of the things that might be helpful going forward is to allow us to have some visibility into how you think about poverty and the poverty rate within the region. We heard from New York City that they're looking at 21%. Central New York earlier today reported 14%. Some of the Finger Lakes communities are looking at rates as high as a third. So in terms of splitting out how our neighbors in those categories are faring, thinking about wage and job growth, right, and segmenting that in terms of wages that are at or near minimum wage versus some of the higher paying roles that you will see in the tech center might be helpful in terms of identifying some opportunities or measuring progress. And then the question relates to Dr. Jones. You had mentioned that within the context of startup, you all are thinking about essentially integrating location, right, transportation, job opportunities as part of the proposals. Has the council considered doing that for non-startup opportunities? So as companies expand, and they're anticipating 100 new jobs, for example, integrating affordable housing with transportation initiatives and perhaps segmenting the workforce in that way, whether that's come up in any of your discussions.
That's come up with our project pipeline for 2015 and 2016. We already have projects, specifically in Menands. We have a great software company that's looking at how they can create more of the atmosphere, that center of gravity behind transportation, housing, not just low-income housing, but a mix of market rate housing and actually developing the community or surrounding their business and how they can actually be part of that ecosystem. To your point, I think that when we have companies that are expanding and doing well in our community, we want them to be good stewards of our community as well. And looking for the help from our region as a whole, whether it be chambers of commerce, the Center for Economic Growth, or our council itself, in helping to drive that center. When my company came from Washington, D.C. to little old Glens Falls in Warren County, we revitalized a 8,000 square foot building and saw a resurgence happen around us. And the housing opportunities that we created for our walking staff was fantastic right there in Glens Falls. We're hoping that projects like that in Troy, Schenectady, and Albany will carry that mission forward. And we're seeing it right now with projects like Wellington Row or the Troy waterfront development that we're currently proposing to you in our proposed package. But the expansion of those types of community aspects are of course what Mayor Sheehan wants us to see and what we are going to continue to produce. Todd has something additional actually to say on that point as well.
So just following up on the idea of transportation, not just for humans, but also for goods and services, I had mentioned the opportunity agenda in the Capital District Community Gardens with an increase of New York State grown product entering into that neighborhood. That's actually being done via a Veggie Mobile. It's actually a mobile farmer's market. And they've actually increased 100% their capacity by putting a second Veggie Mobile on and some online ordering opportunities. So it's also about the infrastructure on how we move goods as well as people. And so from agriculture and food systems perspectives, less than trailer load LTL goods, how are we actually getting from the rural to the urban areas, and even just the processing. Often the wastewater treatment and the labor for sorting and packing is actually not sitting out in the countryside where the farms are. So that clustering idea is actually happening in systematic approach across some of our sectors.
Thank you.
Let me thank you for what's been an enlightening presentation, extremely interesting one. Jim, anything you want to say, and as we bid you adieu?
Well, as always, to all of my colleagues who are both formally on the council by the governor's appointment or informally because you stepped up and volunteered, thank you again. Your work has been tremendous. I think it's apparent in this presentation and in our report.
And thank all of you.
To the team, and we had this conversation, a few of us this morning, we salute you. To have to go through one of these is a tremendous undertaking. To have to go through 10 deserves sainthood or the like. So thank you very much.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear.